Tanzania's National Bank of Commerce Limited has been fined 1 billion Tanzanian shillings for failure to establish a data center in the East African nation, the second bank in 2 months, to be penalized for such a breach by the central bank. The central bank directed banks and financial institutions in 2014 to establish primary or secondary data centers in the East African nation, warning of hefty fines for non-compliance as it tightened regulatory overnight of the sector. And the country's financial services sector has been hit by a spike in bad loans, which have stifled the growth of credit to the private sector. An Ivory Coast government has signed an agreement with Toyota to build a vehicle assembly plant in the West African nation. Faced with stagnant sales in developed economies, automakers including Toyota, Volkswagen, BMW and Nissan are seeking to break into Africa, considered one of the world's last untapped markets for new cars. The agreement was signed at a Japan-Africa Development Conference in Japan. And on Tuesday this week, the South African National Treasury released a discussion document which outlines steps that could bolster growth and address unemployment. The Treasury says the proposed interventions, which include plans to make petrol cheaper and encourage new banks and supermarkets, could raise average GDP growth by 2.3 percentage points over 10 years and create just over 1 million jobs. Well, let's get an insight into how investors and the markets digest this economic plan during the week. My colleague in South Africa, Itumeleng Mafisa, will wrap up the market for us. Hello, Itumeleng. All right, while we wait for Itumeleng to come up there, South Africa's master taxidermist Ronnie Kutchmer has been preserving wildlife carcass for 50 years. He now specializes in big cats, and his business works on up to 2,500 animals per year for both local and international clients. Let's watch this.
Taxidermist Rodney Kwesema has been working for the past 50 years at Trans-African Taxidermists, which was founded by his grandfather and handed down to his father and then to him. Taxiderming is the practice of preparing, stuffing and mounting the skins of animals with lifelike effects, which dates to 2200 BC in ancient Egypt. While the lion's share of the industry is in the US, South African taxidermists have the advantage of regular and direct exposure to wild animals, allowing them to produce more lifelike models. Good infrastructure and a low exchange rate also contributes to a local taxidermy industry that is worth 600 million rand. That's about 39 million.
I personally spend a lot of time in the field. And in the reserves, studying animals, and by doing that, it gives me a great satisfaction to be able to produce an animal to its glory that it was, in a natural as it was, through taxidermy. So it's the personal satisfaction is to be recreating something of such beauty to its ultimate accuracy.
Rodney charges clients, who are mostly trophy hunters, up to $4,500 for a lion. His other specialties include antelopes, leopards and elephants, which he can charge up to $50,000 for. But he says that the industry had been in decline for several years due to restrictive local legislation, such as permits, statutory waiting periods, and other documentation that allows taxidermists to work and export their products.
All right, let's look at the markets now and get insight into how investors and the markets digested that economic plan that was released during the week. My colleague Itumeleng Mafisa, of course, joins us now. Hello, Itumeleng. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, it was a week packed with a lot of activities and a lot of initiatives, of course, from the government. The National Treasury released a discussion document which outlines steps that could bolster growth and address unemployment. What do the people in South Africa make of the proposals?
Well, the proposal has been met with open arms by economists
we seem to have issues there with Itumeleng's Skype there. Well, sometimes it does happen. All right, let's see what's happening there at the Nigerian equities market. Let's talk to Eddie Jong Ewan. Hello, Eddie. Good afternoon. Well, trading in the month of August ends today. Could you do a quick wrap-up and give us your outlook as we enter a new month next week?
Yeah. By September 11, I think.
And let's look at the oil market there. Oil took a breather on Friday after 3 days of solid gains, but was set for its strongest week since early July, boosted by a decline in U.S. inventories and a looming hurricane in Florida, while new signs of trade talks emerged. Brent crude was down 7 cents at $61.01 a barrel after adding 1% on Thursday. Brent is heading for a gain of nearly 3% this week. U.S. oil fell 11 cents to $56.60 a barrel. The contract is set for a gain of more than 4% this week. And in precious metals market, gold prices dipped on Friday as the United States and China indicated they may resume talks to resolve their protracted trade conflict, putting the metal on track for a small weekly loss despite a strong month. Spot gold fell 0.2% to $1,525 per ounce. For the month, bullion is set to rise 7.9%. However, for the week, it's headed for a mild loss of 0.1% following 4 weeks of gains. U.S. gold futures were also down 0.2% at $1,534 an ounce. Well, that's a wrap on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago.